The old ship moved through space like a wounded animal. Its metal hull was covered in scars from 1,000 battles, burn marks from laser fire, dents from asteroid impacts, paint peeling off in long strips that floated away into the darkness. The Defiant Eco looked like junk. That was the point. Captain Jinha sat in his command chair, watching the stars through the cracked viewing window. His hands gripped the worn armrests. The leather was smooth from years of use. His father had sat in this chair. His grandfather, too. 3 generations of his family had commanded this ship. "Captain," came a voice from behind him, "we have something." Jinha turned to look at Quan, his tactical officer. The young man was barely 25, but he had the sharp eyes of someone who had seen too much war. His fingers danced across the old control panel, bringing up a display on the main screen. "What is it?" Jinha asked. "A distress signal." "Coming from the Gamma 7 sector." Jinha frowned. Gamma 7 was deep in contested space. No one went there unless they were desperate or stupid. How many ships? 1 civilian transport. Under attack by... Quan paused, his face going pale. "Hegemony forces, sir." The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew about the hegemony. They were the rulers of the galaxy now. A group of alien species that had joined together to control everything. They had the best ships, the best weapons, the best... everything. They also thought humans were extinct. Jinha stood up slowly. His bones creaked like the ship's old metal. He was 53 years old, and every year showed on his weathered face. How many hegemony ships? 6, all destroyers. 6 destroyers against 1 transport. Jinha shook his head. "That's not a fight, that's murder." The bridge crew looked at each other. They all knew what 6 hegemony destroyers could do. Each one was faster, stronger, and better armed than the Defiant Echo. Together, they could turn the old human ship into space dust in minutes. "Sir," Quan said quietly, "we could just deep going, pretend we didn't hear it." Jinha looked at the young officer. Quan's eyes were full of fear, but also shame. He knew what he was suggesting. They all did. "How long until they destroy the transport?" Jinha asked. 20 minutes. "Maybe less." Jinha closed his eyes. In his mind, he could see the people on that transport, families, children, all of them, waiting to die while he sat here doing nothing. "Sir," came another voice. This one belonged to Harin, the ship's engineer. She climbed up from the lower deck, her hands dirty with engine oil. "I heard the conversation. We can't just leave them." Harin was 32 years old, with short black hair and eyes that seemed to see right through you. She was the smartest person Jinha had ever met. She could fix anything, build anything, and make the impossible work. "Harin," Jinha said, "we're 1 ship, they have 6, so?" She wiped her hands on her work clothes. "We've won fights with worse odds. Not against the hegemony." Harin smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Captain, I've been working on something, down in engineering. Something I think you should see." Jinha followed her to the elevator. The old machine groaned and shook as it carried them down to the engineering deck. The air was hot and thick with the smell of metal and electricity. "Look at this," Harin said, leading him to a control panel he had never seen before. "I've been working on it for months, using parts from all the wrecks we've salvaged." "What is it?" "Our weapon system, but better." Harin's fingers moved over. "The controls. I've taken the old railguns and modified them. Added power from the main engines. Changed the targeting system. And I've built something new." "What kind of new?" Harin's smile got wider. "The kind that makes hegemony ships go boom." Jinha stared at the panel. Red lights blinked like angry eyes. Warning signs covered every surface. "This looks dangerous." "It is very dangerous, but not to us." Harin pulled up a diagram on the screen. "The hegemony ships have strong shields, but their shields are made from modern weapons. Energy beams and plasma cannons. Our old railguns use solid metal shots. Their shields can't stop them. Even if that's true, we're still outnumbered. Numbers don't matter if you hit hard enough." Harin touched another control, and the ship's lights dimmed. I've been storing power for weeks. When we fire, we'll hit them with everything we have. Jinha looked at the young woman. She was covered in dirt and oil, but her eyes burned with determination. You really think we can win? I think we can try. They rode the elevator back to the bridge in silence. The crew was waiting for them. Quan looked up as they entered. 15 minutes, Captain. Jinha sat down in his command chair. He looked at the faces around him. These people had followed him across the galaxy. They had fought beside him through hell and back. They trusted him to make the right choice. All hands, he said into the ship's communication system. This is the captain. We have a situation. His voice echoed through the ship's corridors. In the engine room, maintenance crews stopped working. In the sleeping quarters, off-duty crew members sat up in their bunks. Everyone listened. There's a civilian transport under attack. Innocent people about to die. The enemy has 6 ships. We have 1. Jinha paused. I know what you're thinking. The smart thing to do is run. Stay hidden. Stay safe. He looked at Harin. She nodded. But we're not going to do the smart thing. We're going to do the right thing. Jinha's voice grew stronger. We're going to show these aliens what it means to be human. The bridge crew straightened in their seats. Fear was still in their eyes, but something else was there too. Pride. Set course for Gamma 7, Jinha commanded. All power to engines. The Defiant Echo turned in space like a giant metal shark. Its engines roared to life, pushing it forward, faster than it had moved in years. The old ship shook and groaned, but it held together. 10 minutes to target, Quan reported. Harin, get to engineering. Charge your weapons. Already on it, Captain. Jinha watched the stars grow brighter as they approached the battle zone. Somewhere out there, people were dying. But not if he could help it. The forgotten frequency crackled to life on their radio. The distress signal grew stronger. Soon, they would arrive at the battle. Soon, the galaxy would remember why humans were once feared among the stars. The civilian transport Star Runner was dying. Its hull was cracked open like a broken egg. Air and debris spilled out into space. Emergency lights flashed red and orange, painting the darkness with desperate colors. Inside, 300 passengers, pressed against the viewing windows, watching death circle them like hungry wolves. 6 hegemony destroyers moved around the transport in perfect formation. Their ships were beautiful and deadly, long silver hulls that gleamed in the starlight, weapons that could punch holes through mountains, shields that could stop anything. Commander Vex stood on the bridge of the lead destroyer. He was tall and thin, with green scales that covered his reptilian body. His yellow eyes watched the transport with cold interest. Behind him, his crew worked at glowing control panels that looked like pieces of art. Status report, Vex said. His voice was soft and smooth, like silk hiding a knife. The transport is disabled, Commander, reported his tactical officer, a creature made of living crystal. Their engines are dead. Shields are down. They have no weapons. Good. Vex looked at the transport like it was an insect. Have they surrendered? Not yet, Commander. They keep sending distress signals. Vex laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Let them call. No one will come. No one is foolish enough to challenge the hegemony. The transport Star Runner was carrying refugees from the outer colonies. Families who had lost their homes to hegemony expansion. Old people, children, they had nothing but the clothes on their backs and the hope of finding a new life somewhere safe. That hope was about to die. Commander, came a new voice. The sensor officer, a floating creature that looked like a jellyfish made of light. I'm detecting something. What? A ship. Coming toward us. Vex turned to the main screen. Far away, almost invisible against the stars, something was moving. Show me. The screen zoomed in. The image was grainy and unclear, but they could see it now. A ship, old, damaged, moving toward them like a piece of space junk. What is that thing? Vex asked. The sensor officer's lights blinked as it scanned the approaching vessel. It's strange, Commander. The design is very old. The materials are primitive. It's like looking at a museum piece. A museum piece? Yes, Commander. The computer says it's a Terran design, From the old Earth fleet. The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew about the Terrans, humans. They had been a major power in the galaxy once, long ago. But that was before the hegemony. Before civilization had moved beyond such primitive species. Impossible, Vex said. The Terrans are extinct. Their homeworld was abandoned 50 years ago. The computer is certain, Commander. That is a human ship. Vex studied the image on the screen. The ship looked like it was held together with hope and spare parts. Burns covered its hull. Its weapons looked ancient. It was small and weak and pathetic. How many crew? He asked. Scans show maybe 20 humans, Commander. No more. 20 humans in a ship that should be in a scrapyard. Vex shook his head. What are they thinking? On the Star Runner, the passengers watched the approaching ship with growing excitement. Someone had come to help them. Someone was actually coming to fight the hegemony. Look at that ship, whispered an old man to his granddaughter. It's so small. Will it help us, Grandpa? The old man looked at the 6 massive hegemony destroyers. Then he looked at the tiny human ship. I don't know, child, but someone is trying. Aboard the Defiant Echo, Quan watched his sensor readings. With growing worry. The hegemony ships were even bigger than he had thought. Each one was 3 times the size of their ship. Their weapons could destroy planets, Captain, he said. I'm reading their formation. They're not even trying to hide their strength. Jinha studied the tactical display. The alien ships were arranged in a perfect circle around the transport. They were showing off, demonstrating their power. They thought this was a game. They're not expecting a fight, Jinha said. Sir, they're sending us a message. Put it on speaker. The bridge filled with Commander Vex's smooth voice. Unknown vessel, this is Commander Vex of the Hegemony Destroyer Eternal Victory. You are interfering with official hegemony business. Identify yourself immediately. Jinha looked at his crew. They were all staring at him, waiting for his answer. This is Captain Jinha of the Terran vessel Defiant Echo. There was a long pause. Then Vex's voice came back, sounding confused. Did you say Terran? That's right. Impossible. The Terrans are extinct. Do we look extinct to you? Another pause. Jinha could almost hear the aliens talking among themselves, trying to figure out what was happening. Captain Jinha, Vex said finally, your species is no longer a galactic power. You have no authority here. Leave immediately, or we will destroy you. I have a better idea, Jinha said. You have 30 seconds to leave this system. After that, we're going to teach you why your ancestors used to fear our kind. The communication ended. The bridge was quiet except for the hum of the ship's engines. Sir, Quan said quietly, are we really going to fight them? Yes, we are. But they have 6 ships. We have 1. Jinha stood up from his command chair. Quan, how many humans does it take to equal 1 alien? The young officer thought about it. I don't know, sir. Wrong answer. The right answer is, it depends on how angry the human is. Down in engineering, Haran was working frantically. Her modified weapon system was almost ready. Power flowed through cables she had built from salvaged parts. The old railguns hummed with energy they had never felt before. Come on, she whispered to the machines. Work for me. Her hands moved over the controls. Everything had to be perfect. They would only get 1 chance. The Defiant Echo moved closer to the hegemony fleet. Its engines glowed brighter than they had in years. The old ship was waking up from a long sleep. On the hegemony ships, the aliens watched in amazement. This tiny human vessel was actually approaching them. It was like watching a mouse attack a pack of wolves. Commander, the tactical officer said, they're moving into weapon range. Let them come, Vex said. This will be amusing. The transport Star Runner floated between the 2 forces. Its passengers watched through the windows as the small human ship moved toward the massive alien fleet. Children pressed their faces against the glass. Parents held them tight. Will the humans win? Asked a little girl. Her father looked at the odds. 6 against 1. Modern weapons against ancient ones. I don't know, sweetheart. But they're trying. The Defiant Echo was now close enough to see the details on the hegemony ships. Their hulls were perfect, their weapons were aimed and ready. They looked like they could conquer the universe. "All stations, report ready," Jinha said. "Engineering ready," Harin's voice crackled through the speakers. "Weapons are charged and locked on target. Tactical ready," Quan said. "I have firing solutions on all 6 ships." "Navigation ready," called the pilot. Jinha sat back in his command chair. The leather was warm under his hands. He could feel the ship's power flowing through its old bones. The Defiant Echo was ready for war. "Open a channel to the hegemony fleet," he said. "Channel open, sir." "Commander Vex, this is your final warning. Leave now or face the consequences." Vex's laughter echoed through the bridge. "You are one small ship with ancient weapons. We are 6 modern destroyers. What consequences could you possibly threaten us with?" Jinha smiled. It was the same smile his grandfather had worn when he told stories about the old wars. "You're about to find out." The galaxy was about to remember why humans were once feared among the stars. Jinha stood on the bridge of the Defiant Echo, watching the enemy ships grow larger on the screen. His hands were steady, but his heart was beating fast. 6 hegemony destroyers. Each one could destroy his ship with a single shot, but he was not afraid. He thought about his grandfather. Old Captain Lee had commanded this same ship during the Terran Wars, back when humans were feared across the galaxy. Back when Earth's fleet was the strongest force in space. "Boy," his grandfather had told him once, "the secret to being human is not that we never feel fear. The secret is that we do what's right even when we're scared." Jinha had been 8 years old then. Now he was 53, and he finally understood what the old man meant. "Captain," Quan said from his station, "the enemy ships are spreading out. They're trying to surround us." Jinha nodded. "They want to make sure we can't escape." "Can we escape, sir?" Jinha looked at the young officer. Quan was good at his job, but he was young. He had never fought in a real battle before today. "We could try. But then those people on the transport would die." "Yes, sir. And we'd have to live with that for the rest of our lives." Quan's face grew serious. "I understand, sir." The communication system crackled to life. Harin's voice came through from the engineering deck. "Captain, you need to see this." "What is it?" "Come down here, now." Jinha left the bridge and took the elevator down to engineering. The air was hot and thick with the smell of burning metal. Harin was standing in front of a computer screen, her face lit up by the green glow. "Look at this," she said, pointing to the screen. "I've been going through the ship's old files. The ones that have been locked away for decades." Jinha looked at the screen. It showed technical drawings of weapons he had never seen before. "What are these? Weapon designs?" "From the old Earth Navy, the really old Earth Navy." Harin's eyes were bright with excitement. "These are the weapons they used during the Hegemony Wars." "The Hegemony Wars ended 50 years ago." "Yes, and we lost, but not because our weapons were weak." Harin touched the screen. "We lost because we were outnumbered. But these weapons—" "Captain, these weapons were designed to fight exactly this kind of battle." Jinha studied the drawings. The weapons looked strange. "Dangerous. Why were they locked away?" "Because they were too powerful, too destructive. The Earth Navy decided they were too dangerous to use." Harin smiled. "But I think our situation is dangerous enough." She led him to another part of the engineering deck. Here, machines hummed and sparked with electrical energy. Cables ran everywhere like metal veins. And in the center of it all was something that looked like it belonged in a nightmare. "I've been building this for months," Harin said, "using parts from every wreck we've ever salvaged. It's based on the old designs, but I've made it better." "What does it do?" "It turns our railguns into something the hegemony has never seen before." Harin's hands moved over the controls. "Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons, lasers, plasma cannons. But this fires solid metal at incredible speed." "How?" "Fast? Fast enough to punch through a planet." Jinha stared at the machine. It was covered in warning labels. Red lights blinked like angry eyes. This looks like it could destroy our own ship. It could, if we're not careful, Harin's smile was sharp. But it will definitely destroy theirs. They rode the elevator back to the bridge. The enemy ships were closer now. Their hulls gleamed in the starlight like polished knives. Beautiful and deadly. Status report, Jinnah said as he sat down. The hegemony ships have completed their formation, Quan reported. They have us surrounded. No escape routes. Good, Jinnah said. Sir, if we can't escape, then neither can they. On the lead hegemony destroyer, Commander Vex was losing patience. The human ship was still approaching, showing no signs of surrender. It was like watching an insect fly toward a flame. Open fire, he ordered. Destroy that ship. Sir, his tactical officer said. Perhaps we should capture them instead. Study them, learn how they survived. Vex's yellow eyes narrowed. The Terrans are extinct. This is probably just some scavenger crew using an old ship. Kill them and be done with it. Yes, Commander. The hegemony ships opened fire. 6 streams of deadly energy lanced out across space. Each beam was powerful enough to destroy a city. They all converged on the tiny human ship. On the defiant echo, alarm screamed. The ship shook as enemy fire hit their shields. Sparks flew. From control panels, the lights flickered. Shields down to 60%, Quan shouted over the noise. Damage report, Jinnah called out. Forward shields are failing, came a voice from the damage control station. Hull breaches on decks 3 and 4 were losing atmosphere. Another wave of enemy fire hit them. The ship shuddered like a wounded animal. More alarms. More sparks. Shields down to 30%, Quan reported. Jinnah gripped his command chair. The leather was slick with sweat. Harin, are your weapons ready? Almost, Captain. I need 30. More seconds. We don't have 30 seconds. Then make some. Jinnah looked at his pilot. Evasive maneuvers. Make us hard to hit. The defiant echo twisted and turned through space. It moved like a dancer, graceful despite its age. The hegemony ships had to adjust their aim. Their formation began to break apart. Clever, Commander Vex said, but it won't save them. Another barrage of energy beams lit up the darkness. Most of them missed, but 2 found their target. The human ship's shields flared and died. Shields are down, Quan said. We're defenseless. No, Jinnah said. We're free. Sir, with no shields, we can fire through our own defensive field. Harin, are you ready? Ready, Captain. Then let's show them what humans can do. Jinnah stood up from his command chair. Around him, his crew worked frantically to keep the ship alive. Sparks flew, alarms wailed. The smell of burning electronics filled the air, but they were still fighting. All stations, Jinnah said into the ship's communication system. This is the captain. We are about to engage the enemy. Remember who we are. Remember what we fight for. His voice echoed through the corridors. In the medical bay, the doctor prepared for wounded. In the engine room, mechanics worked to keep the power flowing. In the gun turrets, the few remaining gunners checked their weapons. We are the last ship of the Terran fleet, Jinnah continued. We carry the hopes of every human who ever looked up at the stars and dreamed of something better. On the screen, the hegemony ships were moving closer. Their weapons were charging for the killing blow. Today, we remind the galaxy that humans don't surrender. We don't give up. We fight until the last breath in our bodies and the last beat of our hearts. Jinnah sat back down. His hands found the worn controls of his command chair. The same controls his grandfather had used. The same controls that had won battles across the galaxy. Harin, he said, target the lead ship. Locked on, Captain. Fire! The defiant echo unleashed hell. The old ship's railguns had been silent for decades. But now they roared to life with a fury that shook the stars. Metal projectiles shot out. At impossible speeds, they moved faster than light. Faster than thought, the lead hegemony. Destroyer never saw them coming. The first shot punched through the alien ship's shields like they were made of paper. The second shot tore through the hull. The third shot hit the engine core. The destroyer exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the darkness for millions of kilometers. Commander Vex died before he could understand what had happened. The other 5 hegemony ships stopped firing. For a moment, space was silent except for the crackling of burning metal. Then the screaming began. Impossible, the tactical officer of the second destroyer whispered. How did they do that? It doesn't matter, the ship's captain snarled. Kill them all. But on the Defiant Echo, Harin was already targeting the next ship. The galaxy was about to remember why humans were once the most feared species among the stars. The second hegemony destroyer exploded into 1,000 pieces of burning metal. Captain Zek of the destroyer Iron Fist watched his screen in horror. 2 of his ships were gone, destroyed by a single human vessel that should have been scrap metal. How is this possible? He whispered. His tactical officer, a creature with 6 arms and crystal skin, worked frantically at the controls. Their weapons are not energy-based, Captain. They're firing solid projectiles at incredible speeds. Impossible. No one uses projectile weapons anymore. The humans do, Captain. Zek's scaled face twisted with rage. Then we'll show them why energy weapons are superior. All ships, focus fire on the human vessel. Destroy it now. The remaining 4 hegemony ships opened fire at the same time. 20 energy beams lanced out across space. Each one could melt a mountain. Together they should have turned the Defiant Echo into vapor, but the human ship was moving. Jinha watched the energy beams streak toward them. Hard to port, he shouted to his pilot. Full power to engines. The Defiant Echo twisted sideways just as the alien fire reached them. Most of the beams missed. The few that hit scored deep burns across the hull, but the ship kept moving. Damage. Report, Jinha called out. Hull breaches on decks 2 and 5, came the reply. We're losing air, but the bulkheads are holding. Good. Harin, do you have another target? Working on it, Captain. The weapon needs time to recharge. Jinha looked at his tactical display. The 4 remaining enemy ships were spreading out, trying to surround them again. But now they were being careful. They knew the human ship had teeth. Quan, what's their formation? They're trying to box us in, sir, but they're keeping their distance. Smart of them. Jinha smiled grimly. Too bad it won't work. He thought about the old stories his grandfather had told him. Stories about human ships fighting impossible odds. About captains who refused to surrender even when their ships were falling apart around them. The key to fighting aliens, his grandfather had said, is to remember that they think like aliens. They're logical, they follow rules. They expect their enemies to be logical too. And humans aren't logical, Grandpa. Son, humans are the most illogical creatures in the universe. That's what makes us dangerous. Jinha keyed the ship's communication system. All hands, this is the captain. We're going to try something stupid. Around the ship, the crew listened to his voice echoing through the corridors. The enemy expects us to run. They expect us to try to escape. They're positioning themselves to stop us from running away. Jinha looked at his pilot. But we're not going to run. We're going to charge. Sir? The pilot asked. You heard me. Set course for the center of their formation, full speed ahead. The Defiant Echo turned toward the enemy ships. Its engines roared to life, pushing the old vessel forward faster than it had moved in decades. The ship shook and groaned, but it held together. On the bridge of the Iron Fist, Captain Zek stared at his screen in disbelief. Are they flying directly at us? Yes, Captain. They're on a collision course. That's suicide. Should we move, Captain? Zek hesitated. If he moved his ship, it would break the formation. The other ships would have to adjust their positions. It would create gaps in their attack pattern. No, he decided. Hold position. They'll turn away at the last second. But the human ship kept coming. Aboard the Defiant Echo, Harin's voice crackled through the communication system. Captain, the weapon is ready, but I need you to hold us steady for 5 seconds. 5 seconds while flying directly at 4 enemy ships? That's right. Are you insane? Probably. But it's the only way to get a clean shot. Jinha laughed. It was the sound of a man who had nothing left to lose. Pilot, hold us steady. 5 seconds. The Defiant Echo flew straight as an arrow toward the enemy formation. The alien ships opened fire again. Energy beams filled the space around them. Some missed. Others hit. The human ship's hull began to glow from the heat of the energy weapons. Metal plates melted and peeled away. Entire sections of the ship were on fire. 4 seconds. Jinha counted down. An energy beam punched through the ship's main hull. Air rushed out into space. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut with a sound like thunder. 3 seconds. Another hit. The ship's power flickered. Half the lights went out. The artificial gravity failed and everyone floated in the darkness. 2 seconds. The ship's hull began to crack. Through the gaps they could see the stars spinning wildly. 1 second. Firing now, Harin shouted. The defiant echo unleashed its fury. The modified railguns fired 3 times in quick succession. Each shot was perfectly aimed. Each shot hit its target. The destroyer Iron Fist died first. The projectile hit its reactor core and the ship vanished in a ball of nuclear fire. Captain. Zek had just enough time to scream before the explosion consumed him. The second shot hit the destroyer Darkstar in the engine room. The ship broke in half, both pieces spinning away into the darkness. The third shot missed its target by meters. But at the speeds involved, even a near miss was devastating. The projectile's shockwave tore the destroyer Nighthunter apart like paper dot in 30 seconds. The defiant Echo had destroyed 5 of the 6 enemy ships. The last destroyer, Blood Moon, was already running away. Its captain had seen enough. He activated his faster-than-light drive and disappeared into the void. The battle was over. Jinha floated in the darkness of his bridge, held in place only by his command chair's restraints. Around him, his crew was slowly getting back to their feet as the emergency power restored gravity. "Damage report," he said. "We're hurt bad, Captain," came the reply. "Hull breaches on 6 decks. Main power is down to 20%. Life support is failing, but we're alive." "Yes, sir, we're alive." Jinha looked at the main screen. The civilian transport Star Runner was still there, still in one piece. Its passengers were pressed against the windows, watching the human ship that had saved them. "Communications?" Jinha sighed. "Send a message to the transport. Tell them they're safe." "What should we say, Captain?" Jinha thought about it. "Tell them that rumors of humanity's death have been greatly exaggerated." Quan worked at his station, sending the message. Then he looked up at Jinha. "Captain, we did it. We actually did it." "Yes, we did. 6 ships? We destroyed 6 hegemony ships?" Jinha nodded. "And 1 got away. Should we go after it?" "No, let it go." "Why?" Jinha smiled. "Because that ship is going to carry a message. It's going to tell the hegemony that humans are still alive, still fighting, still dangerous." In the engineering section, Harin was working to repair the damage. Her clothes were torn and bloody, but she was grinning. Her weapon had worked perfectly, better than she had hoped. "Harin," Jinha's voice came through the communication system. "How are the repairs coming?" "We'll live, Captain. The ship is hurt, but she's tough, like her crew." "Good. How long until we can move?" "Give me 6 hours, maybe less." "You have 4? I'll make it work." Jinha looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the surviving hegemony ship was racing toward their home base. Soon every alien in the galaxy would know that humanity was back. The thought should have scared him. Instead, it made him proud. "Captain," Quan said. "What do we do now?" Jinha thought about his grandfather, about the stories of the old Earth fleet, about the time when humans were feared and respected across the galaxy. "Now we go home," he said. "And we spread the word." "What word?" "That the Terran fleet is back in business." The defiant Echo floated in space, battered but unbroken. Around it, the wreckage of 5 alien ships drifted like metal snow. And in the distance, the transport Star Runner began its journey to safety. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were harder to kill than anyone had thought. The Star Runner was safe. Jinha watched through the cracked viewing window as the civilian transport prepared to leave. Its engines glowed blue-white in the darkness. The hull was still damaged from the hegemony attack, but it could fly. "Captain," came a voice from the communication station. The transport is sending us a message. Put it on speaker. The bridge filled with the voice of the transport's captain. He sounded old and tired, but grateful. This is Captain Wong of the Star Runner. We don't know how to thank you. Jinha picked up the communication device. No thanks needed, Captain. Just doing our job. Your job? Wong's voice was confused. Sir, we thought all the human military was gone. We thought the Terran fleet was destroyed. Reports of our death were greatly exaggerated. There was a long pause. Then Wong spoke again, and this time his voice was different, stronger. Captain, there's something you need to know. We're not just carrying passengers, we're carrying information. Jinha sat up straighter. What kind of information? Everything. News from across the galaxy, data about hegemony movements. Communications. From other human colonies. Other human colonies? Captain, there are more of us out there than you think. Jinha felt his heart beat faster. How many? Dozens of colonies, maybe more. Scattered across the outer rim, hidden, surviving. Uchiha looked around the bridge. His crew was staring at him with wide eyes. They had thought they were alone. The last humans in the galaxy, but they were wrong, Captain Wong, Jinha said. We need to talk. 2 hours later, Jinha floated across the empty space between the two ships. He wore an old EVA suit that had seen better days. The helmet was cracked, and the air recycler made strange noises. But it worked. The Star Runner was bigger than his ship, but it was designed for passengers, not war. Its hull was smooth and clean, built for comfort rather than fighting. Captain. Wong met him at the airlock. He was a small man with gray hair and kind eyes. He looked like someone's grandfather, not a starship captain. Welcome aboard, Wong said. I'm sorry we can't offer you much. Most of our supplies were damaged in the attack. We're not here for supplies, Jinha said. We're here for information. Wong led him through corridors filled with refugees. There were humans of all ages, families with children, old people who had lived through the fall of Earth, young people who had never seen their homeworld. They all stared at Jinha as he passed. Some of them reached out to touch his uniform as if they couldn't believe he was real. They've never seen a Terran fleet officer before, Wong explained. Most of them were born after the evacuation. What evacuation? Wong stopped walking. You don't know? Know what? About Earth, about what happened. Jinha felt a cold fear in his stomach. Tell me. Wong led him to a small room near the bridge. Inside, there was a table and 2 chairs. On the table was a data pad showing star charts and communication logs. 50 years ago, Wong began, the hegemony gave Earth an ultimatum. Join them or be destroyed. The Earth government tried to negotiate. They thought they could find a peaceful solution. What happened? The hegemony didn't want a peaceful solution. They wanted to make an example, to show the galaxy what happened to species that refused to surrender. Jinha's hands clenched into fists. They attacked Earth? No, they did something worse. Wong's voice was quiet. They poisoned it? Poisoned? A biological weapon? Something that would kill all life on the planet over the course of 50 years. Slow enough for people to evacuate, but fast enough to make the planet uninhabitable. Jinha felt like he had been punched in the stomach. Earth is dead, the planet is still there, but nothing can live on it. The oceans are toxic, the air is poison, the soil is contaminated. Wong looked at the datapad. They called it a mercy. They said it was better than destroying the planet completely. And the people? Most of them evacuated. Ships left Earth every day for 10 years, carrying people to colonies in the outer rim. But the colonies were small, scattered. Many of them failed. Jinha stared at the star charts. Red dots marked the locations of human settlements. There were dozens of them, but they were spread across thousands of light years. How many survived? We don't know exactly. Maybe 50 million. Maybe less, 50 million. Once, there had been 20 billion humans on Earth alone. Now there were only 50 million scattered across the galaxy. Why didn't they fight back? Jinha asked. They did. The Terran fleet fought for 3 years. but they were outnumbered 100 to 1. Most of the ships were destroyed. The rest double quotes Wong shrugged. They disappeared. We thought they were all dead. Not all of us. No, not all of you. Jinha looked at the datapad again. One entry caught his attention. What's this about communication blackouts? The hegemony has been jamming long-range communications between human colonies. They don't want us to coordinate. Don't want us to work together. That's why we didn't know about the other colonies. Yes, each settlement thinks they're alone. They're afraid to fight back because they think they're the only ones left. Jinha felt something burning in his chest. Anger, hope, determination. Not anymore. What do you mean? You have communication logs from other colonies? Yes, dozens of them, and you can reach them? Wong nodded. If we can get past the jamming, then we're going to send them a message. What kind of message? Jinha stood up. We're going to tell them what happened here. We're going to tell them that a single human ship destroyed 5 hegemony destroyers. We're going to tell them that the Terran fleet is still alive. Wong's eyes widened. You want to start a war? The war already started, 50 years ago. We're just going to finish it. Jinha spent the next 4 hours reviewing the data. Communication logs from human colonies across the galaxy. Reports of hegemony attacks. Stories of families torn apart and worlds abandoned, but there were other stories too. Stories of human colonies that had survived, that had grown, that had built new ships and new weapons. Look at this, Wong said, pointing to a communication log. This is from the Kepler colony. They've been building warships. What kind of warships? Fast attack vessels. Designed for hit-and-run tactics, Jinha smiled. Smart. What about here? He pointed to another entry. The Titan mining station. They've been converting cargo ships into bombers. And here? The New Sydney colony. They've been training pilots. Jinha felt the fire in his chest grow stronger. All across the galaxy, humans were preparing for war. They just didn't know it yet. Captain Wong, he said, I need you to send a message to every human colony on this list. What should I say? Tell them that the Terran fleet is back? Tell them that we won a battle against impossible odds? Tell them that it's time to stop hiding. Wong looked at the datapad. The hegemony will intercept the message. They'll know we're coordinating. Good, let them know. Let them worry. They'll send more ships, bigger fleets. Let them come. We'll be ready. Jinha walked to the viewing window. Outside, the Defiant Echo was waiting. His ship was damaged but not broken. Like humanity itself? Captain, Wong said. Do you really think we can win? Jinha thought about his grandfather's stories. About the time when humans were the most feared species in the galaxy. About the ships that could appear anywhere, strike without warning, and vanish into the void. We already won, he said. We proved that humans are still dangerous. Now we just need to prove that we're still united. The message went out 2 hours later. It traveled through hyperspace relays and quantum communication networks. It reached colonies that had been silent for decades. It found humans who had given up hope. And everywhere it went, it carried the same simple words. This is Captain Jinha. Of the Terran fleet, we are alive, we are fighting. We are coming home. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity was harder to kill than anyone had thought, and harder to keep down than anyone had imagined. The revolution had begun. 3 months later, the galaxy was on fire. High Admiral Krex stood in the command center of the hegemony capital ship Eternal Dominion. Around him, holographic displays showed star maps covered in red warning lights. Each light represented a human attack. Each light was a failure of hegemony control. Report, Krex said. His voice was cold and sharp, like breaking ice. General Voss, a tall alien with 4 arms and silver skin, stepped forward. The situation is complicated, Admiral. Complicated? Krex's eyes blazed with fury. Half the outer rim is in rebellion. Our supply lines are under constant attack. 3 of our major bases have been destroyed. And you call it complicated? Sir, the human attacks are unlike anything we've seen before. They appear without warning, strike hard, and disappear before we can respond. They're using old ships. Ancient weapons. How can they be so effective? Voss activated a holographic display. It showed the wreckage of a hegemony destroyer. This ship was attacked by a human vessel last week. Look at the damage pattern. Krex studied the image. The destroyer had been torn apart by solid projectiles fired at incredible speed. Primitive. Weapons, yes sir, but effective. Our shields are designed to stop energy weapons. These kinetic projectiles go right through them. Then upgrade our shields. We're trying, sir. But every time we adapt, the humans change their tactics. They're learning faster than we can respond? Krex turned to another display. This one showed intercepted human communications. What about their coordination? Are they working together? Yes, sir. It started with a single message 3 months ago. From a ship called the Defiant Echo. Since then, human colonies across the galaxy have been communicating with each other. 1. Ship started all this? Yes, sir. The same ship that destroyed Squadron 7 in the Gamma 7 sector. Krex remembered that report. 6 destroyers lost to a single human vessel. At the time he had thought it was impossible. Now he was beginning to understand. Show me the latest attacks, he ordered. The display changed. Red dots appeared across the star map. Dozens of them, each one represented a human victory. The Kepler colony attacked the hegemony base at Proxima 3, Voss reported. They used modified cargo ships loaded with explosives. Destroyed the entire facility. The New Sydney colony? They've been hitting our supply convoys. Fast attack ships that appear, strike, and vanish. The Titan mining station? They converted their mining ships into bombers. Last week they destroyed the shipyard at Centauri Prime. Krex felt a cold fear growing in his stomach. The humans were doing more than just fighting back. They were winning. How many ships have we lost? In the last 3 months, over 200. And the humans? We've destroyed maybe 30 of their ships. But they keep building more. How? They're scattered across the galaxy. They have limited resources. Voss activated another display. This one showed images of human settlements. They're working together, sir, sharing resources, sharing technology. The mining colonies provide materials. The industrial colonies build ships. The agricultural colonies provide food. And the military colonies? They provide training and leadership. The image changed to show a familiar ship. The Defiant Echo, patched and repaired, but still fighting. This ship has become a symbol, Voss said. Captain Jinha has been visiting human colonies across the galaxy, teaching them, inspiring them. One man is causing all this trouble? One man started it. But now it's much bigger than one man. Krex studied the star map. The red dots were spreading like a plague. Soon, the entire outer rim would be in rebellion. What do you recommend, General? We need to find their main base. Cut off the head of the snake. Do we know where it is? No, sir. They're too smart to have a single base? They're scattered, mobile, coordinated. Krex turned away from the displays. Outside the command center's windows, he could see the hegemony home fleet. Hundreds of ships. The most powerful force in the galaxy. But for the first time in 50 years, he was afraid. Far away in the outer rim, the Defiant Echo floated in space near the new Terra colony. The ship had been repaired and upgraded. New weapons. New armor. New Hope. Jinha stood on the bridge, watching a fleet of human ships prepare for battle. 50 vessels from a dozen different colonies, cargo ships converted to fighters, mining vessels turned into bombers, passenger ships loaded with marines. Captain, Quan said from his station, the fleet is ready. Good. What's our target? The hegemony supply base at Volf 359. Intelligence says it's lightly defended. Jinha nodded. Perfect. Harin, are our new weapons ready? Better than ready, Captain. I've been working with engineers from 6 different colonies. We've improved the design. How much? These new projectiles can punch through a moon, Jinha smiled. Good, we're going to need all the firepower we can get. He opened a communication channel to the fleet. All ships, this is Captain Jinha. Today we strike another blow for human freedom. The channel filled with voices, captains from different colonies, different backgrounds, but all united in the same cause. 3 months ago, Jinha continued, we were scattered, afraid, alone. Today we stand together. Today we show the galaxy that humanity is not dead. The fleet moved out in formation, 50 ships flying toward their target. Behind them, 1,000 more ships were being built in hidden shipyards. 1 million more humans were preparing to join the fight. Captain, Quan said, message from the hegemony fleet. They're demanding our surrender. What's your response? Thought about his grandfather, about the stories of the old Earth fleet, about the time when humans were feared across the galaxy. Tell them, he said, that humanity doesn't surrender. We adapt, we evolve, we survive. The fleet jumped to hyperspace. Their destination was a hegemony base that thought it was safe, that thought humans were too weak to threaten them. They were about to learn otherwise. At the Volf 359 base, Admiral Vex was reviewing supply reports when the alarms began to sound. What's happening? He demanded. Sir, we have multiple contacts coming out of hyperspace, human ships. How many? 50, maybe more. Vex looked at his tactical display. The base had 20 defenders, good ships, but outnumbered. Request reinforcements, he ordered. Sir, the nearest fleet is 6 hours away. Then we fight alone. The battle was brutal and short. The human ships attacked with a fury that surprised even Jinha. They had learned well. They moved like a pack of wolves, coordinated and deadly. The base's shields fell within minutes. The defenders tried to fight back, but they were overwhelmed. Human weapons tore through their hulls like paper. When it was over, the base was ruins. 20 hegemony ships were destroyed. The human fleet had lost only 3 vessels. Sir, Quan reported, we've captured their communication logs. Intelligence data, supply schedules. Good, send it to all the colonies. Let them know where to strike next. The defiant echo turned toward home. Around it, the human fleet followed. They had won another victory. But more importantly, they had sent another message. That night, Jinha stood in his quarters looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the message was spreading. Human colonies were receiving the intelligence data, planning new attacks, building new ships. Captain, came Harn's voice through the communication system. I've been thinking about something. What? The hegemony, they're powerful. They have more ships than us, more resources. But they're not human. They don't understand what drives us, what makes us fight, Jinha smiled. And what's that? Hope, the hope that tomorrow will be better than today. That our children will be free. That the galaxy will remember our name, Jinha nodded. The galaxy is already remembering. In the command center of the Eternal Dominion, Admiral Krex stared at the latest reports. Another base destroyed, another fleet defeated, another victory. For the humans. Sir, General Voss said quietly, perhaps we should consider negotiations. Negotiations? Krex's voice was ice. With terrorists? Sir, they're not terrorists. They're soldiers, fighting for their homes, their families, their future. They're rebels, and rebels must be crushed. Sir, with respect, we've been trying to crush them for 3 months. They're only getting stronger. Krex turned to look at the star map. The red dots had spread even further. Soon they would threaten the core worlds. What do you recommend? Talk to them. Find out what they want. I know what they want. They want their planet back. They want Earth restored. Then perhaps we should consider it. Krex was quiet for a long moment, then he shook his head. No, if we give in to the humans, every other species in the galaxy will think they can challenge us. The hegemony's authority will collapse. And if we don't? Krex looked at the red dots, spreading across the map. Then we fight. Until one side is completely destroyed. But deep in his heart, he was beginning to wonder which side that would be. The galaxy had learned that humanity was harder to kill than anyone had thought. And harder to keep down than anyone had imagined. The echo of thunder was spreading across the stars, and everyone could hear it coming.